So what does it mean to be on your Grizzly? It means hard work, dedication, and it means progress. Be on your Grizzly. Hard work, dedication, and progress.
I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me.
Coming to you from the City of Angels, this is the Grizzly Podcast with Irvin Scott and Melissa Santos.
Welcome to another episode of the Grizzly Podcast. This is season 2. I am your host, Irvin Scott.
And I'm your host, Melissa Santos. What's up?
We've got a special guest joining us today. We've got an actress, a model. She's appeared in various television shows such as South of Nowhere, Hit the Floor. She's appeared in various films, including Date Movie, Dumbbells, Thriller. Currently stars as Dina Duran in Disney Channel's live-action comedy series, Gabby, Duran, and the Unsittables with Kylie Cantrall. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today, Valery Ortiz.
Wow.
All right, Latino stand up. Let's go.
So I need to like save that, and then like when I wake up every morning and just like play, just to like hype myself up.
Yeah, welcome.
Valery Ortiz.
Announcing you into the living room.
Thank you for being a part of the Grizzly Podcast. This is the Grizzly Podcast, and what that means is the show focuses on people such as yourself who are constantly grinding, they're constantly on their hustle, doing everything they can to move forward and progress. So you basically embody all that. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. How are things with you? What's going on with you?
Man, it's been so good. So after being on my Grizzly for so long, we were filming season 2 of Gabby Duran in Vancouver through COVID. And, we're in Canada for a bit, like once we started back production, because of course we paused for a while when the world did. So being away for so long, it's so nice, which is even like what I was talking to you earlier, is to be here in LA, kind of having days where you're not super busy. Like I feel like we're on such a like hustle mindset, like got to be always on the grind, which I think is a beautiful thing and it's good. But I think rest and self-care is also really important. So today's one of those days. So I'm like, this was a great day to schedule this because it's so chill. I'm happy to be in LA and just kind of soaking in what this whole year has been since COVID, since filming season 2 of the show. So yeah, it's good. Like it's a good space.
That's a good thing. I know right now it's kind of like weird though, because, it seems like we're kind of going that direction again as far as like last year was.
What is happening, you guys? No. Like we were like, oh, we're like in it. And then now it's like,
I know. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like one day at a time.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't think about it because then it causes like anxiety. So you have to just kind of like.
Right. And even like you were saying, Melissa, earlier, you're at the gym and I'm a huge, you're such an inspiration. Like you're amazing with everything that you've been doing and all the success that you've had. But like the fact that we can go to gyms right now, like that's a plus because that's my stress booster. You know what I mean? Like at least we still have that.
I know. And that's like thing when like the pandemic hit, I was like, man, there's like probably like 2 or 3 places I really like to go to. Man, please don't take that from me. Like, I really need this, so hopefully that doesn't happen. Like, let's be.
Yeah, let's be optimistic and let's hope it all works out, right?
About that. It will.
Absolutely. But you know what, Valery, while we're on the subject of being on our Grizzly, you mentioned earlier that you've been on your grind for some time. Let's go back to where it all started. You were born in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Is that correct?
That's right, Boricua.
Raised in Florida, and you started as a ballerina at an early age.
Yeah, I loved dance. Dance was like my first love. Definitely did like ballet, jazz character, pre-point and all that kind of stuff as a kid, was in the Nutcracker. And I still love dance. Like I'm not a dancer, like, killing it, but I appreciate it. And I did dance in one of my shows before, and I felt like that was like a dream come true. But then my brother, he was the one who was into TV and film and like taught himself how to edit, and he's super smart. So just, like a lot of people's story, playing around in the house with the camera, like back in the day when like you played in the house and like played in the woods and things like that. So we kept each other entertained. And he went to a visual performing arts magnet high school. So then I did it. Like I was always kind of like following in his footsteps. And that's where everything was born. And I learned more about the industry of acting and getting headshots and agents. And especially now that I'm on a Disney TV show, I was like, I learned about all that real late. Cause these little babies are like, killing the game, and they're like 8. It's just like, how are you this amazing and knowing the whole business? Like what is going on? But it's cool to see. But yeah, so I started a little later, but it's been quite the journey, and here I am. I never thought I'd be in LA and loving it too.
Good to hear. LA is basically where it's at. But back when you were in Florida, I heard that you had received a scholarship to the Southern Valley Theater Performing Arts Center in Orlando. How was that like?
I mean, it was cool. Look, I didn't grow up. My parents didn't have a lot of money. So I grew up in a great environment, nothing like that. Like, it's not like a boohoo story, but just to, a lot of those kind of extracurricular type of things. As you know, Melissa, is like, they get pricey, especially when you have more than one kid. And so we auditioned for that program in the Southern Ballet Theater and got accepted, which was cool. And anytime I see any type of things like that for children in general, I'm such an advocate for, like I was telling you earlier, anything that involves children and kind of like highlighting their passions, especially at such an early age, is so important because it just develops the child, and like it just opens up a world for them that whether they continue on that path or not, I think it's a beautiful thing. So I was so thankful that I was able to do that.
It sets the tone for sure for life, whatever it is they end up doing. Because my daughter's in gymnastics, and like just watching her do that like makes me so happy. Like regardless of what she continues to do after that, I'm like, okay, it just sets the tone. Like she acts different. She knows Saturdays it's gymnastics, and there's like the discipline attached to it as well. And she gets to hang out with like her friends, and everyone has like discipline. And then watching her get better at 3, I'm like, oh wow.
It's like
she didn't know what she was doing before, and now she's like, oh, I got this, I know what this is, and she's like doing things, and I'm like, it's amazing. But it is pricey, so it's not cheap, especially if you want to do more than one thing, like but yeah, I guess it's worth it. And your brother?
I'm sorry?
Is it just you and your
yeah
brother?
It's just my brother and I, and we're super close. Older. Huh?
Did you dance at all or anything like that, or was that just a you thing?
He didn't, no. And it's so funny because he did as an adult, like just for fun, like learning how to dance and stuff, and being like, Latino and Latina, like you would think like, okay, I got the rhythm, like I got the groove. And so my brother didn't like naturally pick up that gene as much. But then as he got older, he was like, you know what, like I need to learn how to dance to just like meet women and things like that. And he did, and he's gotten good. And so it's like, okay, Hector, go ahead, learning a new skill.
I tell Melissa all the time, like I have no dance skills whatsoever, so I couldn't even dance to save my life. But
people always say that, like, oh, it's because you're like, you know how to dance. I'm like,
exactly.
No, I don't think that's necessarily true. You might be growing up around the music of it, but that doesn't. Can you imagine? I mean, it's like, can you imagine not knowing how to dance? Yeah, I'm like, I'm the only one who can't dance, and so my husband's white, and he's like, I can't dance.
Does he have it?
I'm like, no, you don't know it's fine. It has nothing to do with being white or not. It's just like, you're just not used to it. But he's open to it. He's taking like a salsa class with me. And
that's cute.
He got frustrated, but it didn't happen. But that's good. It's good that you're saying that just because you're Latino doesn't mean like you're just going to have like the drum beat in your body.
Right. All of a sudden you're like, no.
You're like Dancing with the Stars, right?
Unfortunately, not everybody was blessed with that talent,
full dress, like ready to go. What is this? Like,
I'm Latina.
I'm Latina. No, it's not the way it works.
If you're really interested in wanting to learn how to dance, you take courses and you'd learn how to dance.
You get on your Grizzly, right?
That's it. That's what we're all about here. Immediately after dancing, I know you became interested in theater, and you started acting while in middle school, and eventually you began working in several productions. I know you did West Side Story. You played the role of Maria, and you were also in Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream as Helena.
You're taking it back.
Way back.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Those are like some of the best memories because of that theater, Dr. Phillips Theater Magnet High School I went to. A lot of people, like especially like Joey Fatone and Wayne Brady, like they all went to my high school. There's others, plenty of others. But it was so fun. Like, I mean, I'm such a theater geek and theater nerd. So like just thinking about what that time was is just like pure fun. and like, obviously learning your craft. And a lot of the classes and things that we did in the Theater Magnet were very much in the vein of like a conservatory program in college. So when I started going to college for theater to get my BFA in theater, it was very similar, like the curriculum. So I kind of got a little bit of a head start with that, but I'm still such great friends with a lot of my high school friends. So all of that, like, it's all those little stones and like building blocks, right? To like, that makes part of the path, right? Like how you get to from one thing to another. And that's a huge part of my foundation.
So you attended the University of Central Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
You basically received an opportunity to work as a host on Nickelodeon's game show, Nickelodeon Splat. What was that like?
Again, so fun. So again, growing up in Orlando, I'm such a like theme park nerd, and I like love all that stuff. And especially with like my older brother Hector, like we just always had a lot of fun. So being able to host a live Nickelodeon show that involved slime, like to my generation or anybody who used to watch like all those shows, like y'all get me, it's like I wanted to Double Dare with my family and stuff. So that was just like, this is amazing. And little kids are on the fly, they're just funny as hell. So just to like be in that world was such a blast. And that actually, because of that show, our contract got extended, and I was in college about to start my junior year, but had to put a pause because of the show. After we wrapped the show, I took a road trip to LA, just because I had the time now. And then the rest is history. Like I met my manager, and then my parents drove my car out, and I've been here ever since. That was in 2004.
It's crazy because we've had guests in the past that have actually worked on Nickelodeon. And I always tell them, like, you guys are living the dream, because the fact that you were able to be a part of such a big, company like that, being under the Nickelodeon umbrella is so unique, I think. Your career eventually continued to be even more successful because you were living in LA. And while you were in LA, you hosted a local television program known as LATV Live. Let's talk about LATV Live. What was it like being a part of something like that?
That, it's super surreal because the stages that we filmed LATV Live later on, like I want to say about 10 years later, I went back to host another show called American Latino TV. But so hosting was kind of my thing. And I love hosting to this day. So it was kind of like transitioning from Orlando to like kid show hosting to, a live show, bilingual with some amazing different talent. And I had just moved here. So look, you could have put me anywhere and I was going to have a darn good time. You know what I mean? Like we had some live music, we had some bomb guests. Like I was just like living the dream. I was in LA. So it was so fun.
I love that you do everything. Like you dance, you host, you act, like
you too, girl.
Like, yeah. So put you wherever. Like I can do this, and I love that, and I love it, and I'm just gonna say, and I love that you're Latina too. Like I don't know, like that's the representation we need. Like we do everything, okay?
Yes, and with so much passion. Like I feel everything
like you're passionate about everything. You put your sazon and you come in there and you do it with like heart. So absolutely. Yeah. I remember watching her on LATV. So,
that's so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. And you definitely stand out. You definitely shine. It's a different, definitely your vibe. Like you shoot out of like whatever screen you're a part of. So
thank you. That's so sweet. I think again, it really 100%. Just goes back to that. When you love what you do, like no matter what. You're gonna be
so killed. I see here though, because we're talking about shining and being amazing. You're absolutely gorgeous, and everyone knows that. So you were actually named one of the Maxim Espanol's 50 most beautiful people. What was that like?
Girl, that's so weird. I mean, like you guys know, you guys work in the biz and you've been at it for a while. And it's just so funny because it's like, okay, I don't know. Like, what do you do with that? It's a blurb in a magazine, and like I get asked about it, and I feel like people see you differently than you see yourself. So I mean, it's obviously super flattering and then like cool, and I'm just like, okay. But I think that whole world sometimes is weird for me still. I'm like, okay, yeah. Like I don't know, like I'm just like say that like I impacted like some children in some kind of way and give me that award. And I feel like I'd feel a little bit better. But like, again, not that I'm not flattered, but I just feel like I had nothing to do with that. I'm like, give that award to my mom and dad. You know?
They blessed me with these looks.
You know, like tell them, put their picture on the magazine.
Let's talk about what you look like in the date movie. You had the butt going, man. You were Jello, a J-Lo parody. They were just making fun of all the movies, all the scary movies were going on, and these were all the sequels that were coming out. But J-Lo at the time was still hot, and she still is to this day, by the way. But you played the role of Jello. What was it like being a part of that movie?
That was quite, so anybody who knows me knows I've always been a huge J-Lo fan. So I had that was like one of the first big jobs that I got moving here. And I was working at Hard Rock Cafe as a hostess over there at City Walk. And I was literally at work when I got the call that I got it. And like I lost my shit, like for real. Cause I was like, what? Like, what are the chances? Like, I'm such a huge fan. Now I get to play her in a movie. Like, you know, people are going to be at a theater watching me. It was so much fun and surreal and goofy and everything that you said, like, you know what I mean? It was like my first movie red carpet. There was just so many firsts at that time. And I was still like so new to this world in LA that it felt like a whole dream. Like even thinking about it today, I'm like, man, like it still feels so cool to like remember it. And then you get the weirdos who are like, is that real? And I'm just like, okay.
You were able to utilize your dance talent because you were dancing in the movie.
That was so fun. They did teach us like this little dance that wasn't in the original cut. It was like in the extras. But that was super fun. And what's funny is that it was written in the script, and you guys know, but like when you get sides for auditions, it was right before that dance and it said like stop. But for my audition, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. So like I had like prepared like a little dance as Jello. And kind of kept the audition going through the thing. So I think that might have helped me a little bit.
Well, that's what's up. And, you know, eventually everything you basically did, it helped you with everything else that you ended up doing in the future.
That's the beautiful thing about life, right? Like when you start putting all those puzzle pieces together, you know, it's like.
We talked about Nickelodeon earlier. You were also part of Noggin. You played the role of Madison Duarte, South of Nowhere. You were part of that show. What was it like being a part of that show?
It's insane. Like, it was, again, so I got a date movie in 1 week, and literally like a week and a half later, I found out I got South of Nowhere. And again, being so new to LA, and now as an adult, I'm like, girl, do you understand how getting a serious regular role, like that is hard. Like it doesn't just happen like that. But I didn't know. And so again, this is all kind of happening so fast. And the content of the show was so new for that time and was so important, and just our fans are unreal. Like it's just so crazy how it changed. And I played the girl you love to hate. Like she was like queen bee bitch, like hating on everybody, cheerleader girl. And so I'm so thankful. Like I didn't get hate mail and people didn't like, hate on me. But to this day, those South of Nowhere fans are just amazing. Like I cannot believe that touched those people. And actually one of my really close friends right now, I joined a CrossFit gym last year for the first time, and randomly this girl's like looking at me kind of funny, and she's like, were you on South of Nowhere? And if anybody knows that show, like, they're like a real OG, because not a lot of people know the show. And she's like, oh my God. It was just like so cool to like actually then become really good friends with somebody who really, really knew the show.
Back in the day, like it was all about the teen shows, right? All the teen shows were hot, and they still are, I'm sure, but it's a different time back then. I think they're a little more edgier back then compared to the shows out today.
What a time, right? And then you're right. During that time, all those shows were coming out. You've been part of like these incredible moments, like determining moments, I think, on television, and then like iconic, right? So Nickelodeon and now Disney.
Cool to think about it, and I always laugh because we did like this, all these promos for all the shows that were on the end in New York. And that was when Drake still called himself Aubrey, because he was on one of the shows on Noggin as well.
Yeah, Degrassi.
Like, exactly. So I was like, yo, we're old.
Drake, he was doing the Degrassi show. He was in a wheelchair and he was Jimmy, and people surprise you. I'm telling you. So never doubt anybody.
That's right. Like I love, and I talk to young people, especially now, because the industry is so different from when I started. Not that I'm like this vieja or anything, but I mean, and that goes to show you, like I haven't been here that long, so to speak, but it has changed so much. So there's so much opportunity now for young people and older people, like no age discrimination, to really like dive into whatever your passion is, and get that Grizzly focus on like what you want to do and just do it, because nowadays there's just no rules. There's not like you send your headshot and like hope the agent calls you back. Like those steps are just, with the TikToks and the Instagrams and the stories and all the things. And that's just, obviously I'm talking about entertainment world because that's what I know, but like in any career journey or whatever dreams that you may have.
There's tons of platforms now and people get pulled from every platform. Someone sees you or you decide to do a project, or a project comes up from a collaboration with someone else, and it's like lawless, like you just go, you do it. Before it was just like, oh, here's my headshot and that's it. Like you didn't have a place to even really perform and be seen. So yeah, 100%. You can still, you could do all the things, especially now where, I don't know what's going on moving forward, but people have rerouted their efforts. I feel like a lot of artists, this is like a renaissance period. I feel like, and a lot of art comes from it. And I feel like I'm seeing it a lot now. And like, look at you, like during COVID, you're like shooting stuff. It's like incredible, you're still getting it all done.
I love that you said that, the whole Renaissance thing. I think that's a beautiful way to put it, because I think that's true. It has really kind of elevated people and inspired them to like dig deep and just kind of do just for their own sake. And then for a lot, it's turned into different things, but I like that.
Speaking of COVID, your show was obviously still shooting. You guys were still in production. And I think you guys were probably one of a few television shows that were actually in production during COVID, because I was watching Kylie's stories and, she was being tested before she went on set or whatever. What was that like, being a part of something like during COVID?
Whatever you think it was, it probably was that at one moment. Highs and lows. Look, it was such a gift, right? Because and that was a weird thing to process, if I'm going to be honest, because you have, again, with all the socials and being able to see how it's affecting people in different ways, and people are losing their jobs, and I haven't talked about this a lot, but we were filming in Vancouver and we were considered essential workers, and that's kind of and I don't know if you can a mind because I'm like, but am I really essential? And then you have the people, with the saying, but like entertainment is essential because, that's what everybody's sitting at home watching. And so anyway, there's just a lot of that kind of going through your head of just like, there's people out here like doing things and not being able to like provide for their families. And I'm getting this amazing opportunity to be working at such a difficult time. And then being on set was different. Like, obviously, like one of the most beautiful things is the connection, right? That's acting. And like all of that was super odd. And like, having the mask and being able to get off, getting, tested every 2 weeks. And you can't, like, you have the bubbles of who you can be around. So it was just all so different. But that to say, because we were in Canada and because we were so far removed from what was normal to us before that, like we became such a tight-knit, even more tight-knit family for each other because we were all that we had. That was a bit difficult for me. Everybody had their families out there in Canada, and I had my dog Miley, and so that was hard because I had a lot of loss in my family throughout COVID time as well. So being stuck in Canada, again, with this blessing, with this gift of work, but then not being able to be a part of like the real fucking life that was happening outside of this little bubble was just really difficult sometimes. So it wasn't ever lost on me that I was working, but it was also hard to balance just the reality of what the world was around us, right? So just a really weird time. When going back to what Melissa said earlier, it's so much of like a renaissance in that way, because it just, all of it like made you kind of like dig deep and like figure out all these things and the whys. And so it was both beautiful, a huge gift, and also really difficult.
I'm assuming you felt a lot more safe out in Canada, right? Because I think they're a lot more strict, right? Compared to out here. Because I saw, last year, like, all kinds of crazy stuff was going on. I would see people just, walking to restaurants and like, they would tell you to take off your mask there. They would take off put your mask on over here. You know what I'm saying? It was so like confusing. So I can imagine like Canada was probably a lot more organized compared to the US at the time.
It was. And, they're not lying when they say Canadians are so nice, just beautiful, lovely people. And like, that was the cool thing. You know what I mean? To be in a situation like that, and everybody's really just like, let's just get this done, y'all. Like, let's all be safe. Like, so the energy behind it all was so nice. And just, you're looking out for each other, right? Because you're trying to be safe, but at the same time trying to create, and everybody's trying to get home to their families if they were separated from family. So, which a lot of people were. So, it was, I'll never forget it. I won't ever forget it.
Like the whole Canada was in a bubble, and now you guys were a bubble within a bubble. So that's kind of neat. So then therefore you guys are closer because of it. Like, you're there. And then could you have your doggy on set with you? Did you have your doggy?
I did. She came to set with me for sure. Yeah. So, and it's so funny because even to this day, everybody's like, damn, Miley's traveled more than I have. Shit. Like, she's been out of the country.
It makes you feel so much better to have them with you.
Yeah. And it's funny you even mentioned that, because that I don't do cold. Like, I got used to it because of being in Canada for so long. But people would be like, girl, you're so dramatic. You're always so cold. I'm like, do you understand? Like, I literally was born on a warm, humid, hot island, grew up in Florida. Now I'm living in LA for so many years. Like,
Canada gets cold. Like,
and just like wet cold. Like, I'm like, if I'm going to see like the snow and it's all like beautiful, like a movie and stuff, I'm like, I get it. You have like whatever. But I'm like, I could do that for 2.5 days. Then after that, I'm like, I need the sun.
And we're so spoiled out in California because, right? Because when it's cold here, I'm thinking it's like, 60 degrees? I'm like, it's freezing. I got my jacket on, and it's really not that bad, man.
My bones hurt. My bones hurt. And then like, what is this? Like, I cannot. Like, me and my husband fight all the time, and we'll just go to the other room. I need to have a little bit of warmth. There needs to be balance. So I had been to Canada a lot, and so Canada gets so cold where I'm like,
were you on the west side or the east side?
I was like by Detroit. So like, what would that be? It's like right at the border of Detroit. I freaking forget, because that's where they would shoot like a wrestling show that I was doing, and so.
Like, my body needs to be warm, my muscles. Season 1, we started filming in fall, which was stunning and gorgeous. I had never experienced fall in that manner before, and I was like in love. So that season 1's kind of like trajectory of like how filming went was awesome. Season 2, we started in like, it was just all the cold and rain.
How long were you out there, like beginning to end?
It took us for at least just season 2, what would have taken us 6 months took over a year because of the pause and all that kind of stuff for season 2. So I wasn't there a full year because we had the pause, and then I came back to LA when everything like first shut down. But yeah, so I mean, it's cool though, because I never thought I was going to be in LA. I would never have thought I was going to be living in Vancouver. So it's like back to like, just kind of when you look at your life and how things just like kind of fall together, and you're like, wow. Like, my mom and I talk about it because I was named after, and I forgot her last name now, but her name was Valery something. And she was a runner who won in like the 100 dash race something in LA in 1984. And Valery something Bricks, I don't know. My name was going to be Maeva. And so then she was watching the Olympics in Puerto Rico, and then she saw this lady, and it's Valery, and then she spelled it differently, and that's how I got my name. But my mom's like, nunca yo pensé, like, I never thought that I was in, Puerto Rico watching the Olympics in LA, and then one day you were going to be in LA, and I did a marathon. And so that's kind of when we started talking about it, when she was like, mírate tía ahora, look at you now, like, then you did a marathon in LA, and it's, it's like, what is life?
Yeah.
So cool that you're Latina, and because you're Latina, obviously there needs to be a little bit more of us out there. I know there's a ton of us out there, but there's not a lot of us basically represented on television. And the fact that
hype each other up.
Yeah, we got to definitely hype each other up. And while we're on the subject of Disney Channel's live action comedy series Gabby, Duran, and the Unsittables, you play the role of Dina Duran on that show. You're Kylie Cantrall's mom. What's it like being a part of that show and actually working with a young cast?
I love it. I mean, I'm a big fan of kids. I don't have any of my own, but they're just so unpredictable. And anytime I see young talent in general, I'm just like left in awe. And so, as you mentioned Kylie, and she's just like this beautiful, humble, crazy, talented, hard freaking working young lady. And all the kids, they really just amaze me. And of course, I leaned on Nathan, who is the only other adult on the show, and he's just phenomenal. So it was such a neat experience. And I think, again, because because we were in Canada, right? And we only had each other plus COVID, it's just like we just bonded in this different kind of way that I don't know it would have happened the same had we filmed here in LA, right? And we all had our people and our whatever after the show. So it was awesome. And I'm still obviously super connected with the cast. And I love that, especially to be a part of, it was all of these kids' first TV series, series regular. So, I was always just like, they're probably like, okay, like Val, chill. But I'm just like, this is the first time that, of your first day on set. And okay, this is the first wrap of your very first show, like soak it in. Cause I'm just like, they're never going to forget this, So it was neat to be a part of like that with them.
I know you're also an author and you also write children books, right? Like they're bilingual children books. Let's talk about the children books.
Yeah. My Hola Hello series. So that's been a passion of mine for years. I loved writing since I was a kid. Like I have these stories that I have since forever, and poems and things like that. So I wrote the Hola Hello series about a coqui, which of course is a tiny tree frog that's native to the island of Puerto Rico. And the first book introduces the coqui, and it's about being unique and being yourself, but because the coqui doesn't ribbit like all the other frogs, right? But he still is so passionate and so in love with his song, and he wants to share his song. So that's the introduction of the coqui. And then the other two stories in the series are about family and family being unconventional. Like family looks different to different people, but in this case, different animals. There's another one about the coqui kind of being tired of his world, trying to go into the city, and he meets a dog. They're trying to beat each other and all about, you're better being yourself. Spanish was my first language. And as an adult, like I had to do an interview in all Spanish, and I was like, oh shit. Because there's words that like, especially now as an adult, like I don't say, like, how do you say season? Like I know capítulo, like I've never said season, and whatever, different things. And I'm like, I don't know how to say. I'm like, Mami, ¿cómo se dice? Like, how do you say this word? And I'm like trying to like write notes.
You're just like, you use the English,
Exactly. Yeah. So that, like, with that in mind, like I just don't want my culture and my language to end with me. So it was really important to me to put something out there for my future kids. That has my language, obviously a lot about my culture, and then something that's educational for even Latinx kids out there. So yeah, I love it. I have some other books that I wrote for children as well that aren't a part of the Hola Hello series. But yeah, those are all things that are like I'll be posting about and more information about like where that's going next. It's something I'm currently working on. So really excited about it.
I was checking out the website and I noticed that there are plans to release these books, maybe even through schools, right?
There's a lot of plans. Like there's a lot of things that I've been thinking about, especially during this pause, and people that I'm like talking to and working with on kind of the next steps or where it's going to go next. So just stay tuned. I definitely did some school readings pre-COVID, and would be so excited to do that. Like now that I'm back, and anything with kids, like I'm like, let me just sit with y'all. I love it. But yeah, so just stay tuned. Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, it's something that I love that has nothing to do, obviously, with the acting world, but is a huge part of my story and like what I want to put out there.
I mean, that's amazing. We love that. And, for anybody interested in learning more about Coqui and the Hola Hello series, where can they go and find all this information?
Yeah, where can we get it?
Yeah, the holahelloseries.com. Go on there. You guys can find me at Valery Ortiz on Instagram. If you have any questions, I'll of course answer them. But yeah, holahelloseries.com.
We'll definitely tune in for more information there. So for anybody interested in knowing more about the books, check out the website like she mentioned. But we're going to go back to your acting career now. I want to talk about Robert Townsend. OG, man. What a great guy. So, I actually attended Cal State Northridge. He's done public speaking there. But I remember him from The Parenthood, which was a show I used to watch on Channel 5 here in LA, KTLA, right? But anyway, you worked with him. You were part of his original web series, which was Diary of a Single Mom, and that aired for 3 seasons. What was it like working with a vet or a seasoned vet like Robert Townsend himself?
The shit. Like, he is so cool. Still to this day, like, when people are like, oh, who's your favorite director? I've had a lot of amazing directors, so I'm not trying to like whatever on anybody else, but he just works different, and he's such an amazing actor. So it was, and the people that were on the series, were all like so seasoned, and I learned so much. And he's all about playing, like he'll like whisper something in your ear and then real quiet and then go whisper like the opposite thing to the other person. So then like you create like this like real natural conflict that you guys both weren't expecting. And so you get some like real raw emotions, and it just, and because the thing is, I worked with Robert, I met him on South of Nowhere. So he directed a couple episodes on South. And that's when I was introduced to his, magic. And then I auditioned for the Diary of a Single Mom and was able to work with him for the 3 seasons. But he always has one for love, right? So your last take is, he'll be like, one for love. And so that's like the one that you just kind of play and do whatever and get out of your head. I just love him, and his daughters are so talented and sweet, and just like that family is so good.
Very cool to hear about Robert Townsend. You've also got to be a part of other popular shows. One popular show that I'm thinking about right now. You start as Raquel in VH1's Hit the Floor, and I know that show was very popular. Lil J was part of that. He's also done some stuff with Disney as well, right? He's a good friend of yours?
Yeah, of course, Jonathan.
I've interacted with him a couple of times, good guy. But being part of Hit the Floor as Raquel, what was it like being part of that show? And I know that show became the highest rated freshman scripted cable series among the 18 to 49 demo. So, I mean, you had some fans there as well. So we thought South of Nowhere was cool, but Hit the Floor was definitely off the floor. You know what I'm saying?
It was. That was such a fun time in my life. That show was so like fun, hot, sexy. Like everybody was just like, I don't know, like the energy of it was just so much fun. I was playing a single mom. I feel like people love to see me as a single mom now that I think about it. Like I'm good at that role. So I was playing a single mom, Raquel, and she obviously was a dancer, and I got to dance a lot more in season 3, which I was just, and with all these amazing, like professional dancers. So I was real scared, but it was awesome. And James LaRosa, the creator of the show, is, I think the beautiful thing about that show too is they always, like they say with anything, right? It always starts at the top. And James LaRosa was and is such a like humble, fun-loving, down-to-earth person. And that's how he ran his set, and so that just, again, it kind of created this like family. And and what's interesting, and I just thought about this right now, like I feel like people outside of Hollywood are like, oh, do you have any like horror stories of anything that you've ever worked on? And I don't know if that's like in the past or something, but I'm like, no, like, do people have horror stories? Because it's just everything. It's always been like such a little family type of setting, and Hit the Floor was definitely that. That was a show that basically involves some dancing as well, right? You got a chance to kind of showcase your dancing skills. It's funny how it all comes back to dancing, right? The other night I was watching your Instagram stories, and I think it was you and a friend, right? You guys actually snuck into some club or something. Look into a club? You making it sound like we're like 18?
I just saw you and your friend.
Spanish music playing?
Spanish music was playing. You guys were dancing.
I was with my girl, her name's Valery too, actually. One of my best friends down in St. Pete, Florida. And so nothing, we had gone to eat. I think we were about to go get some ice cream, like no lie. And then we're passing by this like little place, and we hear the music and like ding, 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 ding. And we're like, hold up. And so we pop our head in, and like these people, and it's a little small space that everybody's just killing it. You have like old people, young people, white, black, like, and they're just having so much fun. And we just like pop in there for a minute, dance a little bit, and then leave. It was like the most fun.
Stalker, geez.
Hey, I got to do my research on folks. That's what it is.
Dude, Irvin will find everything and anything on you. So,
oh man, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? The way Melissa says it, but I try to do good. That's all.
Did you guys end up getting the ice cream?
We did. Yes, because that was, we were not going to get ice cream, at least if I have anything to do with it.
What kind of ice cream, by the way?
Well, okay. So if I'm going to like get some ice cream, like I just want like my waffle cone with my cookies and cream. Like, I mean, I can like mess with other things, but like, I feel like if I don't get that, then I'm going to be like,
I should have.
I wanted to got my, my just like plain, no, I guess it's not plain, but real classic waffle cone and cookies and cream.
Ice cream or froyo, man? I gotta ask. Like, what?
If I'm gonna do it, like ice cream. I mean, look, I know I live in LA, but I do like froyo. But I mean, if I'm gonna like, if I want that, like if I'm like craving it, then I want like the real.
I feel like people are like, but it's like healthy. It's not. It's still sugar. Just go all the way. Like, just do the whole thing. Eat the ice cream.
Exactly.
Like, just go.
Just eat the ice cream and live life. You did the Style File show, right?
Yeah, working with ABC Family, hosting it was so much fun. I did a lot of like interstitials with them where I met a lot of like different talent. I did a lot of premieres. The first time I went to Toronto was with ABC Family. Then I went to London for the Catching Fire premiere down there. It was cool. Like, I love that world. I love hosting. And speaking of hosting, I'm starting a podcast myself with one of my good friends, Alicona Bradford. It's called Your Unpaid Therapist. And we're going to be launching that very soon. And so that's going to get me back into that kind of world. And really that was born in Canada, the idea, born a while ago, because I met Alicona Bradford and she used to host AfterBuzz, and where they do a lot of after shows. Yeah. So she interviewed me on that years ago during Hit the Floor, and then we just became friends. And then while I was in Canada, I was like, yo, like I'm talking to all my friends and keeping up. And I'm like, y'all are my unpaid therapists, like for real. Cause you for all the things, for the tears, for the celebrations. And I was like, this is the podcast, and kind of getting until you speak to somebody, you see them on the socials and whatever, but you don't really know what the why, right? Like at the core of like who makes them who they are. And I think it's important to share the vulnerability, right? So people kind of get a real, look into, it's this thing that it just may seem like this beautiful, pretty picture that's like all perfect or whatever. Like some people like post on there. So we kind of just wanted to have the conversation and open it up and get honest about things. And I'm really excited to share it with everybody.
That's so important for mental health too. And I feel like the mental health of others watching in, whenever because we know what social media is. I personally, when I see someone, I'm like, you should post a little bit more than just that, because people who look up to you, yeah, it's they watch you and they want to know like everything. And if they think you're perfect, they think, well, what's wrong with me? Like anyone my daughter's only 3, but I mean, it looks like she's going to grow up in this world. I want her to look at people that are real. Like we're real people. We're not like these like avatars that I feel like social media likes to portray. So I think that's dope that you get to deconstruct people and they're vulnerable with you on this. When does it launch?
It's going to launch soon. It kept getting pushed back because of COVID, and I was in Florida and family stuff, So super soon, just follow me at Valery Ortiz and on Instagram, and we're going to post like the the official date soon. But yeah, I love what you said about comparison. I love that quote that says comparison is a thief of joy, and it's 100% true. So I think it's just kind of like just being raw, honest, talking. We're kind of doing like an after show / just raw, real conversation, because she got real inspired by the Friends reunion. And so we're starting back to episode 1, and it's like, and doing like a brief after show on that and kind of talking about those topics and how they relate to us and everything which relate way more now than like back when I saw it. I'm like, wait a minute, like this, I'm seeing this show in a whole different light. So it's going to be interesting to kind of go back through the series and then also bring these topics of today and vulnerability and things like that. So it's going to be fun.
Any idea on people that you have in mind to bring on the show?
Yeah, we definitely have people we have in mind. And that's something that we have been like going back and forth and when we're going to introduce them. So it's going to be really specific on like episodes and topics, just because it's an after show / conversation. It's not guest based. And that was intentional because I wanted it to be less about because we're kind of trying to frame it around the show, of course. So it's going to depend on like the episode and the topic, but it won't be something that you're going to have a guest every episode.
Okay, cool. Well, that sounds exciting. That's something I would definitely tune into. I love that. I love conversation type podcasts that, just like really deconstruct and just like show you like the real. I feel like that's what people need. People need real, and they need something to like make them feel like, okay, well, I'm going through this and I'm not doing this. I'm not the only one, right? Like you don't feel alone. And I think during this time, people have felt alone, regardless if we've been together, even you still feel alone. Like you're like, gosh, this is only happening to me, And so I'm excited for that. You're doing everything, Joe, like everything. I love this. I love that you're just killing the game, and it's amazing. And I have to say, she's from San Juan, Puerto Rico, yo. She's Latina, killing it, and that's what it is. I feel like, not to put down my Latino men, but man, Latina women just do everything.
Facts. You gotta stay working. I ain't mad at it, man. I gotta respect the hustle. I praise you all, man.
Yeah, and I praise both of you. Like this is a beautiful concept. I was listening to some of the episodes and just like the idea, because I was like, Grizzly, that's interesting. Like I need to know the why behind that, right? And both of you are really you walk the walk, right? And I love that because I feel like it's cool to share a space as equals of people who are doing the thing, and we get to talk about the thing, and it's a pleasure to meet both of you and like just now like connect right in this different kind of way and cheer you on like okay, in different ways. So thank you for inviting me on the show.
Would this be the first time that you really open up this way where fans can see you this way?
We talk about a lot of things that people may or may not. I mean, I'm sure now, Irvin, a lot of things that you're not talking about that you Googled or probably found out. But I do dive really deep into a lot of things that I don't really talk about. And it's really interesting too. And it's going to be a fine line because I do have a lot of young audience members right now, like young fans. So we do have like one part of the podcast that's a little, I wouldn't say surface because we do talk about things, but then an after show of the podcast where we get a little bit more raw and deeper into like just all kinds of different topics. So I'm excited because it's just things that we all need to talk about, that it's like when somebody else has gone through it or not, regardless, you're like, oh shit, like I love that, like I get it now, or like, and they went through all that and still X, Y, or Z, it's just like we're all, and oh my gosh, because I'm big into quotes and stuff. There's a positive quote at the end of each podcast, but I saw and I posted it the other day. It was like a meme or something, but it was like this picture and it was like, we're all walking each other home. And I'm like, that's so emotional, but it's so true. And I'm like, we're all like on this journey together, like walking each other home to this, whatever you think it is next after this. So yeah, it's part of that whole story that I'm excited to share.
I think that's so awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. On top of everything else you're doing, how do you balance it all as far as like relationships? Are you married? I don't know if I did the research on that one. See, so
dang, you're gonna have to listen to the podcast. No, I'm not married. I'm divorced. It's episode 1 of the podcast dives right into that. But no, so I'm single, and and it's weird because I love and I love relationships and I want a family and I love kids and all that. So that's why I'm so lucky that I got to work with all these kids, because I kind of get that little, and all my friends have kids and I'm like babysitting my friends' kids tomorrow night anyway, so I get that. So no, I'm definitely, it's so crazy. Because my brother's been on like all those dating apps and stuff. So like, I'm like on the like dating apps, learning what this is. Like, what is life? Like, what are dating apps, you guys?
But see, the thing is, if you go on the dating app and someone sees you and they're a fan, they're going to go, there's no way that's her. Okay,
I actually had somebody do that, and they like, but I knew because I had worked with them, and they like screenshot it, and they were like, "Question mark? Is this real?" I was like, "Yeah, bro." And it was like a fun interaction, you know.
Which way did you swipe? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a trip.
He never came up on my thing. I don't know. But and he was like fun, like sweet guy. But yeah, no, it's just all fun and it's all so intriguing. And it's like to be at this age and even like dating, like I'm like, what? Like that's COVID. Like there's so much to it.
I have friends that are still dating even today during the pandemic. And I know a lot of them told me that it was a very different experience for them, like all last year, especially because there was a guy I knew, and his thing was that he said he would have like a date every week or whatever. And then I'm like, so how does that work? Because you guys have to have masks on. And when do you have your first kiss? Like, I don't even think you can even do that, right? So he told me that basically he would take out this girl and they would have coffee. Like, I think he had coffee for like 4 months straight. I was like, did it eventually lead to anything? Like, you get tested, It's so weird, right? But yeah, and the poor guy, I think eventually he said it just didn't work out because it just went on for so long where they couldn't really do much, besides just do coffee and where do you go? They couldn't kiss. And I'm like, man, that's terrible, because the girl, I guess, was very like weird about COVID and she didn't want to do any kissing at all. So, the poor guy was over there trying to shoot his shot.
I can't even imagine dating like without COVID, like just.
Yeah, it's all, I mean, luckily things are changing, but we'll see. I mean, it's all a funny little world right now. But it's quite interesting. Yeah. And you hear all the success stories too, though, of like people like finding love on the dating apps and all these things, like they're married.
You can. It's funny just to see it though. Like, and then when you see your friends on there, like my friend he's a plastic surgeon in LA, he works in Beverly Hills. And it's just so funny, like to see him, like my friend's like, oh my God, Roger came up again. And there's like, he calls himself Rogelio, which is like hilarious to me. I messaged him the other day. I'm like, listen, Rogelio. He's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, dude, oh my goodness. He's such a nice guy, but he like just can't. And I mean, hopefully he's not listening to this, but whatever. Dude, your name is Roger. Why do you?
Yeah.
Was he trying to sound like more romantic or something, like Rogelio, like a novela guy or something?
Like with a super Latino name, like it's so funny, Rogelio. I'm like, oh my goodness. So, but it's funny to see your friends on there sometimes because, like, my friends who are single, like during COVID, especially when we were just hanging out, and they would come by and my friend's like, I'm on this dating app now, and I was like, which one is it? And it's like Bumble, and I'm well, let me see, let me swipe for you, right? So I'm like going on for her.
That's what my girlfriends want to do for me.
I'm well, let me just do it. And so she's like, oh, fine. And so I'm swiping. I'm like, there's a lot happening.
It's too, like, I stopped. Like, it's, like I was in Florida when it first started. And my mom was the one's like, ay, espérate, let's sign you up. Ay, you never know. Cause whatever. She was all into it. And then we would sit there like looking at people, and Florida, I'm just going to say Florida is just Florida. So you can use that for whatever you want it to be. I grew up there, so I have love for Orlando, but just take it for what you want. So it was just quite interesting.
Well, hey, you know what? Hey, we're all about connecting people here, though. So just for anybody wondering right now, watching this podcast or listening to the podcast, if you are a part of a dating site, where can they find you? Is it Tinder? Is it Facebook dating? What is it?
Look, you know what? You're trying to play matchmaker now? Like, you find me, then it was meant to be. And we matched, boom. Everything aligned.
I'm over here trying to be the love doctor, man. You know what I'm saying? The next hitch.
You're trying to be invited to the wedding. Espérate. I appreciate it. Put the energy out there.
But you know what?
Manifest.
I definitely listen to your podcast. I know divorce can't be easy, going through that. And then, being able to be on the other side of something like that, because I'm married, and I mean, that would have to be probably one of the hardest things. And just being in a marriage alone is like, woo. It is not for the, faint of heart. So it's, there's a lot that you learn of like, even if you think you know the person, it's not like, it's a little bit different once you're married, and the commitment is completely different once you're married.
There's so much. I mean, that's a whole other episode, but for sure.
And the fact that you're going to talk about that, I mean, just that alone, I'm going to be right there.
So for anybody listening to this episode or watching this episode, if you can offer them any advice as far as pursuing their dreams, what would you say to them?
Man, if I could offer any advice to anybody pursuing their dream is do it, pursue it, go for it. I think that when I look at my life, I would have never, and it's weird because I would say I would never imagine I was here, but I did imagine I'd be here. Right. And so that's why I'm here. And just don't compare yourself, to other people. I said that earlier, comparison is a thief of joy. If I can offer any advice, is just stay on your journey, keep people around you that are cheerleading, your cheerleaders, that your community, your foundation, family, whatever that is to you is so important. And surrounding yourself with people who hype you up, who motivate you, who inspire you to be better. Those are all huge, huge components to success, and whatever success again means to you, because that's different and it looks different for everybody. So just make sure you keep tapping into what that means for you, and then just focus on that.
Well said. We definitely agree with that. And thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. For anybody that's actually listening and interested in knowing more about your journey, again, if you could just plug your social media so that they can find you online, where can they find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram at Valery Ortiz. I'm on Twitter at ValsTweet. I don't really engage on there that much, so don't at me and be mad if you never heard from me. On Facebook, but just find me on Instagram because that's where I engage the most, at Valery Ortiz, Valery with a Y.
And we look forward to basically watching everything that you're doing. So we're looking forward to the podcast.
Same.
No, thank you. And the podcast is going to be exciting. We'll definitely be listening. We're looking forward to the children's books as well. So make sure you keep us posted on all that. And Gabby Duran and the Unsittables, that's still going on. Make sure you guys check that out on Disney Channel.
We're still on the second season right now, airing Friday nights on Disney Channel.
Second season airing Friday nights on Disney Channel. Make sure you guys check that out. And other than that, Valery, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Just getting the chance to speak to you was fun. And stay on your Grizzly.
Hasta la próxima. Stay on your Grizzly. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
Get it pop. Let's get it.
Yo, that's what I'm talking about.
Hi, and welcome to Trademark Expediters. Whether you need a trademark or copyright, we can help make the process easy and affordable. Protect your company name, logo, or slogan with the trademark. Protect your songs, books, photographs, and other creative works with a copyright. Complete our easy online questionnaire in 15 minutes or less. Clear pricing, no hidden fees. 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Get started today. Learn more at trademarkexpediters.com or call one of our friendly specialists at 1-800-510-1082. Affordable, easy, expedited service. Trademark Expediters.
Yo, turn it up.
Hard work, dedication, and progress. Stay on your Grizzly.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out another Grizzly Podcast episode. We'll see you next time.